Welcome to the Letting Go series of yoga classes. My name is Courtney Brain, and I will be leading us through a very simple introductory yin style restorative yoga flow, while also reading from some notes that I took from the book Letting Go by David R. Hawkins. One thing to understand about yin yoga is that it is a lot slower paced than what you might see popularized on the media. So I invite you to please just take your time, right? If anything feels uncomfortable, if you feel anything that is painfully uncomfortable, I don't want to say uncomfortable because you may be uncomfortable with the thoughts or the emotions that come up when certain things are said or when you get into a particular posture. As long as there's no physical pain, then we should be okay, all right? Now, I want you to feel sensations in your body, and I want you to be able to be still with whatever it is that you are experiencing emotionally or mentally. Again, today is just gonna be a gentle flow. Flow doesn't even feel like the right word. Today's gonna be just a gentle class, all right? This will be something that you can do. If you don't have a yoga mat, you'll be able to just do seated on the floor. All we're gonna do is stretch, and I'm gonna read and give you some scenarios that'll hopefully help you with deciding if you want to move on to the next videos that we'll have up, all right? So for starters, what I want for you to do is to just take a seat wherever you are comfortably, and I just want you to center yourself into your space, right? You might be in your living room, you might be in your bedroom, you shouldn't be driving. Please don't be driving while you listen to this, all right? And I want you to attempt to really just be present, all right? And what I mean by that is not to allow for yourself to let your awareness be anywhere outside of where you are, right? So if you can just close your eyes and just pay attention to your breath. Don't change anything, just breathe. And as you close your eyes, notice what's coming up for you visually. What are you picturing, right? Is it just a dark space? Are you looking literally at the inside of your eyelids? Are you forming pictures or shapes and patterns and colors emerging for you? And just breathe, all right? Try not to change the pace of your breath. Don't make any changes, all right? We're just where we are and allowing ourselves to center ourselves in the space that we are in. If you're having trouble with this, I want you to just envision the furthest out place that you can think of. If that be a planet, right? If you can picture just the planets orbiting the sun in our galaxy, and then you begin to just hone in on what Earth looks like from a far out view. And then as you get closer, you picture the continent that you're on, the country you're in, the state or region of that country, down to your town or your city or your county. And then you can hone in on an overhead view of what your neighborhood looks like. And then maybe you can look at your living place from the outside. If you're in a house, if you're in an apartment, if you're in a hotel, wherever you are. And now make your way into whatever room you're in and just bring your awareness almost to an overhead view of yourself. And just take notice of what your body looks like. Is it fidgety? Are you able to be still? What is your posture like? Are you seated? Are you lying down? Do you notice how fast or slow the body's moving with breaths? What color shirt are you wearing? Are you wearing a shirt at all? Do you have socks on? Right? And just notice any particular thing that stands out about yourself, whether that be your facial hair or structure, if you're wearing glasses, and just allow this to be a vehicle for you to ground yourself into the present moment, exactly where you are. What I want you to do next is begin to view yourself. And as you breathe, start to exhale even more exaggerated than you do on a regular basis. So really overextend, over exaggerate that exhale, and then breathe in, however you normally breathe, okay? And for the next several breaths, what I'll have you do is to just continue to focus only on the exhale, okay? And what this is doing for us is it's calming the nervous system. All right, there's a lot of jargon, there's a lot of big words, and I'm the kind of person who will accidentally say the wrong thing. And so I want to keep things as simple as possible here, right? So our long exhales are to just calm the nervous system, right? If you are coming out of a long day, which ideally you would be doing this at the end of the day, but people have different schedules and you just have to work around what works for you. As this is something that is really good for calming yourself, especially right before bed. All right? I want you to just take a few more breaths. Go at your own pace. And before you get to that last one, you know, you're visualizing yourself, you're seeing yourself from the outside in, and I want you to just flip your awareness to the inside. So now you've seen how your shoulders rise, what happens with your body as you breathe, and I want you to bring your awareness back into yourself. Continue to keep the eyes closed if you feel safe doing so. And breathe. Remember to exaggerate those exhales, okay? And now what I want to invite you to do is to, wherever you are, you can be lying down or seated. I'll instruct you through either. The instructions are very much similar. If you are seated, allow for yourself to sit upright. All right. You want to, the best way that I can describe if you're seated is you want your butthole to be touching the earth. All right. If you're on blocks or a pillow, you can just lean to one side, and the side that's lifted, you want to peel that flesh upward, and then you'll sit on that side and peel that flesh upward so that your anus is planted onto the earth, and then you'll want to tilt your pelvis forward so that your rib cage is lifted and the spine is extended and you're upright. Bring your chin down parallel to the ground as best you can without looking upward. You want to have more of a forward look, as upright as you can be. Draw the shoulder blades back, lift your heart forward. And if you're seated with your legs crossed, and you can just place your palms upright on your knees. If you'll see how I'm seated, cross-legged doesn't work for me, so another option would be to bring the bottoms of your feet together, and then you can just place the hands on the inner part of the knee to where the palms are open toward the ceiling, all right? And from here, we'll just continue those breaths, all right? We're really focusing here on the exhale. And now what I want you to do is really breathe through your nose, in case you haven't before. Again, we were just being mindful of and observing the breath and what the body does. And continue to breathe. And what this introductory session is doing for us today is just getting us into the habit of just coming in, centering, grounding ourselves, and being prepared to receive the information, to receive the download of what's going to come into our body. My words are one way of transmitting information to you, and hearing is one way for you to receive that information, but our body is also a storage device for a lot of wisdom and knowledge and experience that may have gone untapped because we've not had the practice of doing just this, which is grounding and connecting ourselves. You may notice that thoughts might have come up about things that you need to do, things you have to get back to, things you could be doing that aren't this, wondering if you're wasting your time. It's never a waste of time for you to be able to check in with yourself. And always remember that if you get nothing else out of these yoga classes. Today, for what we're going to be doing, I want you to always know that it's a great idea to check in with yourself. And as you show up consistently to these, or if you go to yoga even outside of here and use these as opportunities to check in with yourself, you begin to uncover an extreme amount of wisdom that the body has for us, that we are so just disconnected from in general, that it's almost like it's foreign. It's almost like a different language. So my intention today is to get you a little bit familiar with the language of the body, right? So being observant of how you're breathing, how you're feeling as you breathe, right? Is there any tightness anywhere in the body? Where are you feeling tension? Is it difficult for you to sit upright? If you're lying down, are you noticing that it's difficult for you to breathe? We're only making observations for this today, okay? And I have my notes here. I'm gonna just speak through a little bit about what to expect moving forward, and give you an introduction of what we're going to see as we go through these particular sessions for this series, which is the Letting Go series, where we read from the notes that I've taken on the book, Letting Go by David R. Hawkins. And if you don't have this book, I strongly recommend it. There are two main books that I recommend. There's Letting Go by David R. Hawkins, and then Psycho-Cybernetics by Dr. Maxwell Maltz, and that'll be a whole separate thing. But first, focusing on the letting go process, what I want to invite you to do from here, as we've been breathing, we've gotten our posture right, just notice if there's been any changes in your posture, right? Are you noticing that you're leaning to one side? Check in with your glutes. Are you leaning into one side of your hips over the other? Are you beginning to slouch forward? Are you noticing if there's any tension in your body from being seated in this way? Oftentimes, one way to correct any tightness that might be happening in your hips and lower back may be to just engage your core. I'm not saying to suck it in and alter your breathing. What I mean is to essentially push it out and suck it in simultaneously, so that you're almost just flexing the core muscles, and see what that does for your posture even, okay? All right. And now from here, I invite you to place your right hand over your belly button and then your left hand over your heart center. So I remember growing up, I used to think the heart was on the left because that's how they kill vampires, but the heart's actually maybe a little bit more to the left. But if you place your palm over the center of your chest, the center of your rib cage, you'll be able to feel your heartbeat. And when's the last time that you even did this, felt your heartbeat? Let's just be with this for a moment. As you breathe, notice what's happening in the hands. Are you feeling that belly expand into the palm of the right hand? And then as you take a deeper inhale, are you noticing the rib cage expand? Again, we're not going to get too advanced today. We're keeping it very simple, which is bringing awareness into the body, the storehouse for information. You can try breathing in through your nose and then out through your mouth. And see if you can identify the difference between when you breathe normally, like without bringing your conscious awareness to your breath or your body, versus now having, being seated upright, or if you're lying down, having drawn your shoulder blades back. And just notice if the breath is able to more easily move into the diaphragm as you inhale. All right, you can place your hands onto your knees if you're seated. If you're lying down, you can just rest your arms by your side. Continue to breathe as you are. For the book Letting Go by David R. Hawkins, one of the things that we want to understand is if there is a physical or an external problem, as men, we always seek out a solution for it, right? if you're in a relationship, how often have you gotten in trouble because your partner's just been like, or if you've been around people who aren't men even, and they present a problem to you, how often has your default been to go and solve it, right? Think about that. Please continue to breathe, and if being seated has become uncomfortable for you, please go ahead and just lie down and just try and be still and breathe as I continue to just read through the little bit of notes that I have before we get into the practice, all right? So what is it about the problems that we don't see? Where is our willingness and effort to solve that problem? That thing that we did to start this class, where we started to detach ourselves from everything that was outside of this room in layers, starting with space, the planets, the earth, the continent, the country, right? We brought our awareness to ourselves as we observed ourselves right before we switched from observing our bodies as we breathe to now becoming that which is, breathing. That's our awareness. So as we try to solve problems, as we identify problems, we notice those problems because they're real. They're out there. People are bringing them to us. We might even see our own problems. Now, our awareness to those problems externally, right? This is where we are placing our sense of self. And as what this exercise of locking into our bodies and checking in with our bodies and bringing our awareness into our bodies, what this does is it offers us a practice for detaching from external problems that aren't our own. We can get so, our identity can be in our sense of self as someone who does things for others, who fixes problems, solves problems, or who even just identifies problems. But when our awareness is in ourselves and someone brings something to us, it may not even need to be seen or viewed as a problem, right? In our own awareness of self, as we see, how people may present a problem that may not actually be a problem for them, but it's our awareness of what problems are or might be that makes us think that it's a problem and that it needs to be something solved. So the thing about the letting go process, right? All we're doing really is learning to identify and name an emotion and then understand that the emotion itself is not a bad thing. It's really what we do with the emotion. So even anger, right? If we're angry, anger can become self-destructive. It can manifest and express itself unconsciously. But if we're able to understand, okay, I am angry. I am angry about what? I'm angry about this specific thing. Okay, now what do I do with that anger? And then what we can do with that anger is put it somewhere. We express it. We can neutralize the feeling by being with it, and then we let it go. Whatever letting go looks like. What we don't want to do is suppress the emotion or repress the emotion. And more of this will come in chapter 2. And in fact, I'm kind of getting a little bit further ahead than what I want to get for this particular session today. But just using anger as an example, because this is an emotion that we are so familiar with, and I believe that this is on the higher end of the negative emotions. I have my notes on that, but I don't want to open that and go down that rabbit hole. But we see that there's a lot of seeking out there, and that's kind of where the attachment comes in, right? Our sense of self, our awareness, it's so attached to everything out there and around us that it's rare that we're able to bring our awareness into ourselves. Please continue to take those breaths where there's a lengthier exhale. And as I'm speaking, just notice if there's any discomfort or sensation in your body, or if your breathing shifts, if you start to get fidgety or you find yourself unable to be still. And it could be something as simple as you don't like my voice, understandable, but maybe it's not. And if it isn't, I invite you to be with that a little bit more because there's information there, I promise. So we want to notice that there is not an attachment to religion or spirituality, nor is there a seeking out there for someone to give us the answers. What's out there is really just a signpost to reaching in and seeing what is actually there. So we want to notice the changes of our moods and what our environments look like throughout the process of what I just kind of described as letting go. We want to notice the discomforts. We want to notice the wins. We want to notice the shifts. And this is just a taste of what freedom is or what freedom feels like. So this exercise that we did before even knowing that it was an exercise, right, was really just about detaching our awareness from all of the different directions that it's being pulled from us. If you ever felt burned out, if you've ever felt like you're being pulled in so many different directions, like you need to be multiple places at once, your awareness is in multiple places at once. Being able to let go of our emotions, the thing about that is that we see where our unconscious is, our unconscious just energy and emotions. And I use energy and emotions interchangeably just so you can keep up with me here. Our emotions are often attached to a lot of external things, right? I think about, okay, our need to make money. We got to make money. So there's an attachment to work, how we feel about our work. A lot of people don't like their jobs. Some people love their jobs. Some just see it as a thing to do, right? But we have a feeling about our jobs that when we're not at our jobs, there's a little piece of us that could be holding on to something about that job. Same thing with a relationship, our family relationships, our passions, our hobbies, our interests, our vices even, right? I just named 6, 7 different things that we might have different emotional attachments to that are out there, right? We're so attached to the things out there that we oftentimes don't even know what it is that we feel, what our base emotion is, and our identification with something like a relationship or our career will be what we think of ourselves. When someone asks you how you are, or they ask you, what are you up to? And we begin to respond from a place of, oh, I'm all right, work, ... Or, oh, I'm all right, my significant other, ... Oh, I'm all right, man, my family, ... Our inability to connect with ourselves is centered around this unconscious, just like energetic leakage of our emotions, because we're oftentimes not even really aware of what we feel about our career, our relationship, our family, ourself. And the starting point for that might be to go out there and then just look at it, identify what it is, and then just unhook and detach. And I'm not saying to, run away or avoid what it is that you're emotionally attached to. I'm saying that it's important for us to identify what the emotional attachment is, the thing that we're attached to, our emotional attachment to it, and then identify and understand the source of that feeling. Because once we get the emotion, we can understand why we feel that way, and then we can begin to surrender it. Because what will happen is that unconsciously, that emotion will express itself in our behaviors. And our emotions are often just shaped from an inconsistency of our beliefs and our behaviors. So if you believe that you should wait till marriage before you have sex, but then you behave in a way where you're having sex and you're not married, you're gonna have some unconscious feelings that are going to express themselves, and we don't know what those might be. Those may even be acts of aggression, violence, it may be misplaced anger, frustration, it could be some sense of pride. There's a number of emotions, and we'll talk about more of the emotions when we get to an overview of the anatomy of emotions, which I believe is going to be in the next session. So the way that this is going to be broken down, today is the intro. Next we'll go into chapter 2, which is technically chapter 1, but I just really wanted to give you all just the opportunity to understand what you're getting yourself into and how useful and powerful this thing can be for us. This is a technique that we don't have to ask someone, okay, what's the secret to life? Like, I don't need to go on YouTube and download all of the content telling men this is what you need to do to be a man. No, all of those things out there are and should be signposts for you to go within. So as we go through these yoga classes, I am sending and extending an invitation to you to go within. And go within is such a vague statement. I will deconstruct every vague statement, like doing the work and go within and feel your feelings, right? All of these things that we're told to do and we're not really giving a roadmap, we're not giving a roadmap for. I got you, all right? So as you continue to breathe, if you're not already lying down, please go ahead and lie down on your back. You can continue to place one hand over the belly, one hand over the heart. And for this stage, all I want you to do is we're just gonna meditate. There's not gonna be any movement with this one, all right? So as you breathe, I want you to just make the decision for yourself if you like where you are and you want to just keep your awareness in your body. And as you breathe, just envision what a color, your favorite color. As you breathe in, envision the breath expanding the belly, lifting the rib cage, and coming into the throat, starting from breathing into your belly. So rather than envisioning the breath coming into your nose and down into your belly, right? Inhale in a way that expands the belly, and then the breath rises up through the diaphragm and peaks at the top of the throat. And then exhale. All right? If you're not watching me, that's okay. But if you are, I'll try and demonstrate it for you. So what we want to do is breathe in, and you'll notice my belly is protruding. And as I continue to breathe, the belly can't expand anymore. So now what you'll feel is a filling up of the diaphragm through the rib cage lifting. And then when I get as far as I can in my inhale, there's sort of like a point right here at which the breath can't go any higher. And then as I exhale, I'm pushing my stomach inward, and then I'm pressing the air out through the diaphragm and through the chest last, okay? So the big belly, breathe in, feel the rib cage expand, and then the throat might constrict at the top, and then you push the breath out from belly to chest to throat, all right? And this is just gonna be something that might take a while to get used to, okay? Now, speaking back to the attachments, our energetic and emotional attachments to things out there, it's important that we identify what those are so that we can find our own neutral, our baseline, all right? So as you lie down and you're continuing to breathe, just envision the things that you might be psychically, energetically, emotionally connected to. I use the examples of relationship, career, hobbies, interests, family, friends, community involvements, if you're with a sports team, and just look at these 8 different identifiers. If you have more, if you have less, then just be with that, all right? And as you breathe, just envision this light that is the breath coming into the body, exiting the body, into the body, exiting the body, okay? And whatever color that is, those tentacles that are extending into these aspects of your identity that you might be emotionally connected to, those parts of your life out there, let that be the same color. Now, ask yourself as you lie here, and you don't really need to come up with an answer. All we're doing is inquiring. So much of the content that is geared towards men and navigating mental health is really people telling you what to do and how you need to be. And that's the last thing that I want to do. I want that to be your decision. All we want to do is take inventory of what's happening around us, what is going on, what do we feel about what's going on, why do we feel that way, and then we want to experience the emotion so that we can just let it run its course. And that's what this letting go technique is. So if we're all starting with our career, now somebody might not have a job, and that's okay, but if you don't have a job and you're listening to this, just think about the thing that you would like to be doing to make money, all right? So we're at our job and, we have it. Let's just take whatever our feelings are about this job, all right? How do you feel about the commute? How do you feel about the time that you have to wake up in the morning to get ready for it, or at night to get ready for it? What does that process look like for you? The commute going in, when you get there, who do you see? Who's there? How do you start your day? When do you do the things that you need to do for yourself? Have you eaten breakfast? Do you eat breakfast every day? What's your relationship like with your boss? What's your workstation set up, right? What's the first thing that you do to start your workday? Are you taking calls? Are you checking emails? You go through the day, as you get hungry, what do? As your legs become restless, are you able to get up and walk around? Are you texting here and there? You listen to a podcast? Right? And what happens when we get to lunchtime? Do you get a lunch break? Do you take that consistently? What are you eating? Are you isolated? Are you with your co-workers? Are y'all eating together? Lunch break ends, you get back to work. It's just a regular work day. Nothing crazy, nothing too bad. Unless every day is crazy and bad. Right? And then, you're getting toward the end of the day and you clock out if that's what you do, or you pack your stuff up and get your things together. Are you rushing out of there to beat traffic? Are you working from home? So you're like, I'll just finish up here. Or maybe you checked out a while ago. All right, and what's the drive like back home? What are you thinking? Are you even going home? Are you going out? Are you gonna meet people? Are you gonna get some food? Are you even hungry? And then what's the process of, when you get back home? You pull into your parking spot. Do you sit in the car for a little bit and just chill? Did you make any stops on your way home? And then now that you're home, is it just you? Is there a pet? Are there other people? Do you have roommates? You get inside and, what's the first thing that you do? Do you turn the TV on? Do you take your shoes off? Do you go work out, go for a run? Do you just kind of start making dinner, get ready for bed, right? Like, what does this look like to you? And as I just went through someone's day, maybe this wasn't everyone's day, but the observations there, think about what you feel. And you feel something, and if you feel nothing, even that can be considered a feeling, because underneath that there is some type of an emotion, right? Like, you might have been doing this might be your day, or have been your day for the last 20 years. This might have been your day over the last week. This may not look like your day at all, and you envision something completely different, which is perfectly fine. This is just a roadmap, an example of what it looks like to just observe in the state of meditation. And the purpose of the observation is to identify what changes might have occurred in your breathing or your body as you envisioned or visualize what a work day looks like. And remember, we're also connected to other things. So that's just one thing. That's our career, our job. And think about if there was ever a sensation in your body where maybe that particular tentacle felt like it was tugging at you as you thought of certain parts of that, or maybe the idea of that being what every day looks like. Maybe you're the kind of person who appreciates that. You're like, yes, I love the consistency. Or maybe you're somebody who's like, hold up, it has been 20 years. Whatever your reaction was to this particular exercise, whether that be in the body, whether that be in your breathing changing, or maybe you even had like a thought. And again, we're just observing here. But with this exercise, there's a lot of wisdom and information to be learned as a result of having made the time to just self-reflect and bring your awareness to yourself and identify the things that we're attached to, so that we can understand the emotion, and then we can begin to have the language, and then we can then access the tools that we need in order to implement the changes that we want to make, if they're even necessary. Okay? So we see what that day looks like, and from here, identifying maybe not necessarily a specific feeling, but as we think about our job and we think about our entire day, what that feels like, that where in the body do we feel our relationship to work? And when you think about work, if your shoulders like crunch over and you find yourself shrinking, that says that you might be fearful of the job. If there's like a pain in your chest, that could be information about how you feel about the job. You know, maybe you just got like some back pain out of nowhere thinking about work. Or maybe you just felt like a more relaxed sense of breath because you know you're doing meaningful work. Maybe your job is something that is really important to you. Your career is something that's more meaningful to you than a paycheck. Even that is information, whether you feel negatively or positively or neutrally about your workspace. All information is objective. Our responses and what we do with the information is subjective. So with this, making the observation of what our typical day looks like in reference to work, we can decide if that, I don't want to say we can, I want to go against the train of thought that I just had, but as we recognize our relationship and emotion to our career, this can help us with identifying where we're giving more of ourselves to that than what we're allowing to be for ourselves. Because again, being stretched so many different directions, it can make us literally feel that way. There might be chronic pain in the body. There may be psychological distress. There may be a need for escapism, avoidance. There may be unconscious behaviors that we don't like, the inconsistencies there. So what we just want to do is identify what the feeling we have is about our job, and that's going to tell us a little bit of information about ourselves in reference to work. How we view ourselves in our career, which is a very important part of our life because we spend a lot of time in our career. We need to make money and we work. Like, that's our job, and we implement a lot of ourselves, our skills in that particular setting. So coming out of that and just identifying where in the body you feel your relationship to your job, and identifying the thoughts that accompany that sensation can help us get to the feeling. And right now, we're not going into the language of the feelings just yet, but this is just an awareness technique to bring ourselves to center as we come into these letting go yoga series classes. Take the time to notice if your breath has changed at all, if it has or has not. Just continue to breathe. You can stay here as long as you like. I'm gonna go ahead and begin to just close us out of here, but I invite you to take that same exercise to other aspects of your life. Identify what a day looks like, identify how you feel about that day, and then make the connection of that part of yourself that you're giving to something, someone externally, and see what happens when you begin to recall your awareness from that space into yourself. We are very fragmented, especially in today's world where we have to be doing so many things, and so many people and objects out there are competing for our awareness, and it's being taken from us. Yoga, meditation, these are tools that very much allow for us to more so hold on to our sense of self and combat this sense of fragmentation that the world sort of it's just a part of the world at this point. It's not forced on us. It just is the way things are right now. Repeat this exercise with your relationship to your family, your friends, your lovers, your passions, your communities. And once we can understand, where we feel and that we feel, we can get into the language, like we will in the next video, of identifying what the feeling is, and then examples of it, and then ways to experience the emotion, neutralize it, and then be able to let it go. My name name's Courtney Brain. This is Self Yoga, the Letting Go series. Thank you for being here. Look forward to having you